Welcome into Nashville Game Changers with Jill Jelnick. Really excited to introduce our next guest. But before I do, I want to start by saying this is a podcast that first started because I wanted to talk to people that have had impacts on the sports field, in the community in Nashville, but also people that have inspired others, like generations of people, including young sports broadcasters like myself. So excited. Dawn Davenport, ESPN sideline veteran, joining us on the podcast today. Also, the co-host of 104.5 The Zone, 3HL's midday show. Dawn, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. I love you. Love seeing you out and about. So I love that we get to sit here on couches and be comfy
exactly.
and just chat, right?
We don't have to have, some big mic in your face. You're not,
right.
having all this pressure asking questions or
It's
big
not,
time sideline report.
Hey, I'll be right back. Okay, hold on. 5 minutes. Let's pause this conversation. We'll pick it up again tomorrow.
This was, it was really important for me to get you on the show, not just because I'm a big fan of yours. I have been since you started out in Nashville at WKRN, but it was also important to me to have you here because there are so many people in the sports world that admire you, look up to you, boys and girls that see you running around, hustling on the sideline, getting that coach interview.
Getting our steps in.
Yes. But then also on top of that, you're a mom. You're a full-time mom, full-time sideline reporter, full-time radio host. You do so much. And I think it's so important that not only we talk about each of those kind of chapters and each part of you that makes up who is Dawn Davenport, but I also just want to start by saying, wow, like what you do on a regular basis. I mean, I'm right here.
Okay. Super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Can we stop talking about me?
Okay, it's done. Got it out of the way.
Yes. No, but thank you. That it means the world to me. I love it when younger, people who want to get in the business eventually reach out to me. I always try to make time for anybody because that was me at one point. And there were role models and women who I reached out to who took the time to call me back or email me back and be like, hey, you need to do this or you need to work on this, so I'm always willing, to pay it forward, help anybody out who wants to get in this business and have any kind of questions. Like I would not even be in this business if it wasn't for, during my internship, I worked with a female, I moved to Savannah, Georgia, didn't know a soul, went to a local station, carrying a camera, editing, writing, doing all the things that we do.
We still do.
We still do, yes. And I was lucky enough to work with a female there who just taught me everything I needed to know to just get a chance in this business. So thank goodness for her. Jennifer Blossom Taylor, by the way, is her name. Shout out, Jen. And, I'm always willing to, hey, if you have any questions, please reach out. And I'm not going to act like I know everything, but I certainly can let you know about my journey and what works and what doesn't, because we've been through it all.
Yes, and I appreciate that. I've always admired that about you. Real quick, I had a fangirl moment when I started out in Chattanooga, because in Chattanooga, I traveled to Murfreesboro to cover high school state championships. We had a couple of Chattanooga teams. And I turn the corner, I'm looking for the press conference room. You tap me and you go, hey, do you know where the press conference room is? And I look straight at you. I don't even know if you remember this, Dawn. We're at MTSU, the Glass House. And all I said was, oh my God, you're Dawn Davenport. Like, that's it. I was like, oh my God, you're Dawn Davenport. Oh, and by the way, the press conference room is over here.
Was I lost? That's about right.
That was the first time I met you, and you were just so unbelievably nice. And that was several years ago, and before I even came to Nashville. And so the fact that I'm in the same city with you and get to work somewhat closely with you in terms of crossover events, I love that. But for those who are not familiar with your journey, you mentioned Savannah. How did you get to Nashville?
So, see, this is another one of those good learning stories. Like sometimes something you think is bad is actually a good thing. Internship in Savannah, graduated from Auburn University. Back then, it was put your resume on a VHS tape, not to age myself here, but
that's what you did.
But that's what we did back then. And, I drove to all small markets everywhere, hand delivered my tape if they would let me. I would just go to the lobby and be like, hey, is the news director here? I was that person. But ended up in Wilmington, North Carolina, did sports there, which was awesome, on the beach. Such a great town. They pay you in sunshine, obviously. So my second job was in Richmond, Virginia. And we had a 4-person sports department at that time, local, for the ABC affiliate there, which is crazy, right?
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't happen nowadays, Jill. And so at some point they decided to cut the sports department, and I was the last one in the door. I was laid off. And GM calls me in and is like, hey, we're eliminating your position. You're done next week. And I was shocked, okay, well, now what do I do with my life? I thought I'd be there for a little bit. I really loved Richmond. And, so you're not prepared. I wasn't looking for jobs or anything like that. And luckily, my news director, who at one point was at Richmond and hired me, ended up in Nashville as the news director, Matthew Zelkine, and immediately called me the next day and was like, hey, I heard you got fired. I'm like, well, laid off.
Thanks,
there's
Matthew.
Difference. Come on. Yeah.
It's less than 24 hours ago,
exactly.
Matthew.
I'm like, it's still a little raw here. Come on. And he was like, well, I've got a job open in the sports department in Nashville. If you're interested, he said, it's a number 3. You're going to have to shoot and carry a camera and do a lot of that. And I was like, you know what? Sure, I've heard great things about Nashville. Let's go. And I got here, worked at WKRN, and I thought, oh, I'll be here for, a couple years. And then I'll try and climb that ladder and go somewhere bigger. And then I fell in love with this place. I fell in love with this city. I fell in love with the people, fell in love with the sports here, just everything. And so I decided that I wasn't going to leave after that. At some point in your life, you have to enjoy where you live and love the place that you live in. And that's where I was. And so I just decided to stay. And it was perfect timing. It got to cover the Titans. And I did cover the Redskins a little bit when we were in Richmond. It was always a drive, but we did cover them a little bit. So I had a little bit of NFL experience and, loved the franchise and loved the team and everything that came with that. And so, I decided that I wanted to stay in this wonderful city. And so that's how I ended up here. That's how I ended up staying here. And ended up getting a chance to do Titans preseason games because ABC, WKRN broadcast them.
Still does, yeah.
Still does, but I got to be the sideline reporter for those and loved it.
Yeah.
Loved the energy and the access, and you're right there and you see and hear and feel things that other people can't because you're there, and then you get to tell them about it, and bring them into it. And so I loved that and thought, okay, maybe that's a route I want to go. So I got some experience doing sidelines that way. And then this is back when CSS existed, the sideline reporter for a Vanderbilt football versus Presbyterian football.
Yeah. Really? That was it.
That was it. Yes. So a sideline reporter got sick. And I think it was Joe Dubin that passed my name along and was like, oh, well.
Shout out to Joe Dubin. We got to give him a shout out.
And hey, by the way, there's a girl in town. She can do sidelines.
Yeah.
And so they were like, all right. So I filled in. There happened to be people working in that truck on that broadcast who worked for ESPN. And I guess I did a decent enough job.
Clearly, you crushed it.
I don't know about that, but they passed my name along, and that's how I ended up at ESPN. So a perfect example of, first off, okay, you might lose a job. You might not get a job you want to get, but guess what? Sometimes God's timing, and maybe it is on purpose, and there's a reason for it. So that was my Richmond, got laid off kind of thing, and then get to Nashville, and that's a perfect example of make sure you're always prepared. Do your homework. You never know who's watching you. You never know who is looking at you and saying, okay, this girl works hard. She knows what she's doing. She puts in the extra time and effort because that person might be able to help you one day get to your dream job. And that's exactly what happened. So, a little bit lucky But all of that is how I ended up staying in Nashville and ended up getting with ESPN.
That would be a really great example of a game-changing moment.
Yes, it would.
That sidelining opportunity, that door that comes open.
Yes.
You said, you got a little lucky with the timing, but Dawn, you have to also look at the preparation that went into that game. But not only that, how about, the Titans sidelining preseason gigs, how much that prepared you, the work that you put in just to even have your name be passed along. You set yourself up to be prepared for a moment. And I think sometimes that gets overlooked, right? Where you say, oh, wow, well, that, right place, right time. Who in our business? Who Well, you know what? You have to be darn good to also
you gotta be ready for the moment when it comes.
Ready.
Yeah.
And
sometimes it's hard to be ready for the moment.
Or know if you are, right? How would you know until you were thrown in there? And it seems like you were ready for that game-changing moment. You crushed it, and then you took advantage of that opportunity.
And got a little lucky too. But yes, no, and thank goodness for the ability to do, the Titan sidelines, because that if I would not have had that experience, I never would have felt comfortable enough to be able to succeed in a different game, different role, different atmosphere, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The Titans sideline helped me to be comfortable when, your open hit is coming up and it's 3, 2, 1 and it's don't screw it up,
This is it.
I mean, you don't get a lot of chances as a sideline reporter to hit it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You do all the work, you do all the prep work, but you're not on the broadcast every single second. It's not play-by-play. It's not the analyst role. When they come to you, you have 15, 30 seconds to sound like you know what you're talking about and do it well. So thank goodness, I got the chance to do that in the preseason with the Titans. And also, you know how it is. You cover a team.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have told you the 4th string, right tackle's favorite food at that point. The team
and in the preseason games, that actually comes in handy.
It might come up. Yes, it actually might come up. So thank goodness for that role and that I got the opportunity to do that. And, I worked with Corey Curtis at WKRN, who's
Shout
still
out
there.
to Corey.
Yes, who helped me to get prepared for that role and what it came down to. So
now, fast forward 13 years later, you are a 13-year veteran sideline reporter.
Just hanging in there, Jill.
Hey, what do they say? It's just like wine, right? Better with time. And a lot of people know your face from college football, but you also do a lot of other stuff for ESPN. Like, you just got back from beach volleyball. Is that right? Oh my gosh. Tell me before we get into college football.
Amazing. Yes.
Before we get into college football, because I can't wait to talk about that. Please tell me about beach volleyball, because that sounds just gorgeous.
First of all, is there a better gig in the entire world than getting to cover a beach volleyball tournament on the beautiful shores of Gulf Shores?
It was in Gulf Shores.
It was in Gulf Shores,
amazing.
yes, which is such a great venue, and they do such a great job. And beach volleyball, I feel like, is still maybe an underappreciated and underknown sport right now.
I agree.
And my first time I worked it was back in 2019. It was the year before COVID. And it was just like, it's so fast and these girls are so athletic. And I mean, it's such a fun sport. If people would just, give it a chance and watch it, you would fall in love with it. And so my first time to work it was 2019. Well, then COVID hit in 2020 and they didn't have the tournament, and I had a baby during COVID. So I hadn't been back until this year, and it was so good to be back to work that event. But I mean, you're doing coaches meetings in a tent on the beach, it's a lot of work. You've got 16 teams. Yes. I mean, can you imagine? There's 5 pairs that
play
of prep.
That's a lot of
each
prep.
team. I mean, that's 10 girls for 16 teams plus coaches. It is a lot of work.
That's essentially a football roster when you do the math.
Yes.
You're basically memorizing names and storylines for 2 football teams.
And digging in.
Yeah.
And football's a little bit easier, honestly, from a standpoint of You've got beat writers. You've got
there's so much information.
Info.
That's a good point. You're doing all the digging yourself.
You're doing it all.
Like literally just asking whoever you can, doing that prep work ahead of time. That's
talking
a lot
to
of work.
SIDs, talking to, scouring Instagrams and Twitters, trying to find stories like, oh, this player, she just sang the national anthem somewhere. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because there's not a beach volleyball beat writer out there. You know what I mean? There's maybe some national publications, but then you've got a 16 seed UT Chattanooga that was at the tournament.
There we go. Go
Mocs. So there's nothing written about that team. You know, it's hard to find sometimes even smaller Division I schools in football to find beat writers in different stories. So,
do it yourself.
So I love that part of the event, and then I love the energy and how fast it is, and it's such a fun sport. And I wish it existed back when I played. I mean, it did, but to this level, I wish there were college teams. I mean, look at University of Texas just started their college beach volleyball program 2 years ago.
Yeah, so it's still a growing sport at the college level.
Like there's not an SEC conference in it yet because they don't have enough schools. Like LSU was there; they've been good for a little while now. FSU has always been good, and then you've got your USCs and your UCLAs and Cal Poly, and those are the really West Coast teams that kind of take over the sport. But TCU, a new champion this year. Which is cool, but it's a really neat sport. It's growing, and I always played indoor volleyball. I played at Auburn. Beach is very different, very different. You got to worry about the wind, I joked. So Holly McPeak, Olympian, she's on the broadcast team. So I played with her and Nicole, another Olympian who's an analyst with us. So I played with them and Mads Fitzpatrick, who played in the national title game for FSU like 3 years ago. And I'm like, girls, one of these is not like the other. We just played for fun on the beach. And about 5 points in, I'm like, I'm so tired. I'm done.
Humbling experience.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, I don't know how you guys did this. I mean, I am not cut for this. So,
that's funny.
But it's awesome. And it's fun to do an event like that where everybody's so passionate about it and cares so much about it. And you can get creative in your broadcast and tell different stories, a little bit different than maybe a college football playoff game where, you have your structure and you know what's coming and everybody knows everything about the teams,
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun to do some of the different stuff.
Well, I appreciate you hustling back from the beautiful Gulf Shores to help to
I did not want to come back, by the way. I love Nashville, but man, the beach is nice.
Especially this time of year.
Yes.
You're listening to Nashville Game Changers with Jill Jelnick. We'll be right back after this. Dawn, college football season is always right around the corner. I know what are we in May, but let's be honest, we blink and it's here.
We're already talking about it.
We're already talking about it, especially in this new day and age with the college sports in general, NIL, transfer portal. My goodness. As you start to get ready for this new season, what have been some of the more fun, exciting, memorable moments that you've had over your 10 plus years of covering college football sidelines?
Oh, goodness. That's a hard one because I feel like it's hard to remember. In moments, you're like, this is amazing. And then, next year comes and it's like, moving on.
Yes. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, good or perfect or great. I know sometimes when it comes to those college football games, we remember chaos or, the crazy disappointing outcome, right? Or the last second win, whatever.
Or the weather,
that too.
Which is always, I'll never forget it was a Northwestern Wisconsin game. And not like deep into the season. So, you're thinking, okay, it won't be that bad.
Right.
Oh no. It was at Northwestern. Wind coming off, 50-mile-per-hour winds.
Oh my gosh.
Pouring rain at 33 degrees. With that kind of, that was one where you question your, career decisions on that one. But I always remember my first game ever for ESPN, which happened to be an Auburn game. which was really special. And, the eagle flies and you just get chills and all of that. This past year, which we've talked about a lot with the Titans drafting Cam Ward, I worked that Syracuse-Miami game, which basically, in essence, ended Miami's season, knocked them out. So just the energy, it was at Syracuse, that atmosphere is so loud in there because it's an indoor building. It's just built to, echo. You can't hear anything in there. You walk out of there after a game and it's just ears ringing. So, that's a recent memory. There's it's so many. And part of my favorite thing about what I do with ESPN and college football is getting to learn from the brightest coaching minds in the country. I mean, every coaches meeting, I learned something more about the game. I never played the game. I didn't even play flag football back then. I know now girls flag football is awesome.
TSSAA sanctioned sport.
Yes.
The championship's coming up around the corner.
Which is amazing. And I love that. But I never got a chance to play other than, playing rec flag football, which, I was always the fast wide receiver, hoping that maybe they'd throw it to the girl because it was the third play and you had to hit a girl on the third play. And so for me, it was, it's the chance to learn from coordinators, defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, and coaches all across many different leagues that I've covered in my 13 years. I've covered everything from FCS playoffs to SEC to, all the conferences to smaller, programs that are just scratching and clawing to have a chance, and that's my favorite part of this job is that ability to every single week learn more about the game, learn the stories, learn what makes players tick and what makes them passionate about this sport. And then you never know what you're going to see on the field. I did work in an Auburn game where they were very close to losing to Jacksonville State. I remember that one a couple of years ago.
That probably was,
and I was like, wow, this is an interesting experience at Auburn.
And I get to cover this. I'm the point woman in charge here.
Gus Malzahn, the head coach then. I was not a happy coach on the sideline. But just so many amazing atmospheres and fans and memories. And I'm pretty lucky to get to do it.
You have probably gotten this question before, I'm sure, but being in a male-dominated sports world, right? You are one of the few females that we see the face. I tell people all the time, there are so many other people behind the scenes, behind the camera that we don't see, and there's an increasing number of women too that are starting to get into that producer role, director role, audio role, graphics role. There's so many people behind the scenes.
I'll just point this out too. My football crew for this past year, I was with Mike Monaco, Kirk Morrison. We keep crews together. We all know each other. Then you kind of develop chemistry and it just makes broadcast better. So that's why crews stay together. And our behind the scenes front row, they call it the front row of the truck, all female.
Yes.
Female producer, Caitlin Urquhart, director, Ashley Ward, female. I mean, so our entire front row was all female. They did a story on it. So it was pretty cool for me, especially because I'm always just used to hearing male voices.
And that's what it has been for a long time. It's been a male-dominated industry for a long time. And shout out to that front crew. Like, be sure to send them this podcast. We want to make sure they know we're giving them some love.
Well, and they're damn good at what they do. So
but
that helps.
It has changed and evolved, and we are seeing more women behind the camera, in front of the camera. From your last 10 plus years at ESPN, how have you seen the roles that women have played evolve and in that timeline? I'm so curious to hear what was your perspective back in year one versus now as you're getting ready to gear up for year 13.
I love that you asked that because I almost feel nowadays it's not, oh, look, there's a female. It's just almost normal.
We've gotten there.
We're at least in the places I'm at, the I guess reactions from others, it's, oh yeah, okay. Yeah. It's not a big deal because it's happening more often. And I think that's a great thing. Like, I would love to get to the point where we don't have to be like, oh, look, it's an all-female front row, because it is the normal. But I do feel like in the last, decade that I've kind of seen those steps happen to where, oh, okay, it's not a first anymore. This isn't a first for a woman to call this or call that, and won't you love when we get to the point where it's not a big deal completely across all sports because it's just normal. But I do feel like that I've seen that a little bit and the transition of that just a little bit too. And I will say I've been so fortunate, and you know how this town is, and our viewers and listeners and sports fans in this town are very, very accepting. And I felt that the minute I got here. And, that's also a testament to the Robin Roberts who started here.
That's right.
To the Sarah Walsh who started
Sarah Walsh,
here.
yes.
Yeah. And so that's a testament to the women before us as well, and them helping to pave kind of that path. But, I feel like I've been very fortunate in haven't dealt with a whole lot of, oh, yeah, you're a woman in a man's world,
We're starting to get away from it.
We're starting to get away from it a little bit.
We're starting to take steps away. And that's what I tell people when I get that question. Oh, look how far women have come. Absolutely. Like, oh my goodness, we've had so many great pioneers. I met Sarah Walsh for the first time in person during Titans draft night.
That's right.
She was here for NFL Network.
She's the best, by the way, the best.
She marched right up to me and she said, oh my gosh, she caught me off guard. I was like, hi, Sarah. Like, I knew who she was. I was like, there's no way you know who I am. And she said, someone told me you're a one-woman sports department. I just wanted to introduce myself. And I was like, Sarah, oh my gosh, thank you. That means a lot. And also, you're a pioneer. Like I know she's probably gotten that, but thank you, because what you did in Nashville, paved a path for others to come afterwards, and that's myself included. And so I was just so excited to meet her, but also to give that back and make sure she knew how aware I was. Which
she loves.
She's
you
so
got to
nice.
get her on.
So nice. I know. Sarah.
There you go.
I got you. Yeah.
You're on next.
Done.
You're up.
But to circle back, of our bigger picture, we have made huge strides. But I always finish with, but we still have a ways to go.
Of course.
We still have a ways to go.
No doubt.
And for you, is that something that is at the forefront, back of your mind when you're trucking down those sidelines, when you're working those extra hours for prep work? I have to imagine how passionate you are, how dedicated to your work. You take it very seriously that you are representing an entire gender on the sideline.
Because there's a ton of women who are younger than me that want to do this.
And they're watching.
I better not screw it up for them. The ones before me didn't screw it up for me. I better not screw it up for everybody coming. When I get old and haggard and I can't walk these sidelines anymore, I want to make sure that path is paved because it was paved for me. And I want to make sure that it's done right to where, coaches and players and fans and everybody is, oh, she knows what she's talking about. She does a good job. She does her preparation and studies and learns and knows the game and all of that, because I want to make sure whoever is next is also given that luxury and the chance to prove that they also prepare and know the game and all of that. So, yeah.
Including your little daughter?
My little daughter who loves dance right now. I'm like, can we get a ball in her hands? I mean, volleyball, basketball, anything. She's
a bat.
4.
What about a bat? Have you tried a bat?
Yes. Can I get her with you for maybe some softball training?
Right here. Love that.
Yeah. So she's only 4. So I feel like I have as a bit of time.
You do.
Right?
Yes. And that's great that she already loves dance and is learning.
Loves it.
Good.
I have no idea what I'm doing as a dance mom. I'm constantly texting the dance chain like, what are we doing here? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's young. We are going to start volleyball this summer.
Oh.
We'll do basketball next fall. So who knows? She might love it. We did try soccer. Didn't go well.
That's okay. That's okay.
As she told me, Mom, I'm too busy for soccer. I was like, okay.
4 years old. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot going on.
Yeah. So, but she's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Lots of fun. And she gets excited when she sees mom on TV for about 3 seconds, and then she's
I bet
over it.
Yeah. You're listening to Nashville Game Changers with Jill Jelnick. We'll be right back after this. Dawn, you do a ton in the community, a lot that people don't even realize. And you do such a great job of helping promote and talking about it on 3HL. Rally on the Runway. I saw you MC. I've seen you MC that for the last 5 years, 4 years. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think
that's a big event for you.
7 total, maybe.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I started when Jarrell Casey
wow.
was the chair of it. Were you in town?
No,
yet?
I was post Jarrell Casey.
Okay,
yeah.
yes. So it started with Jarrell Casey, then Kevin Byard, and now Big Jeff. So who I saw you had on.
Yes. We right
amazing.
Before the event, so we made sure to help promote the event because it's for those that don't know, Rally on the Runway works with the Rally Foundation, raises money to help kids that are currently battling cancer, but also children's cancer research.
Yes.
So just an incredible event that takes place usually around springtime.
Right.
Everybody gets dressed up. The kids walk down the runway, and Dawn is the
do
point
their
guard and making
stuff.
sure everybody is at the right place at the right time.
It's a little chaotic sometimes.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
You've got NFL players and kids. I mean, what can go wrong there?
Yeah, kids probably listen better than the NFL players.
Right, yes.
So that's a challenge in itself.
Luckily, the kids, know what to do on the runway.
Yeah.
So, no, it is one of my favorite events ever. Elaine Kay started the Rally Foundation here in Nashville because her child was diagnosed with cancer early. And it's amazing. And here's like the full kind of circle moment. So this year I met a mom whose daughter is going through treatment and all of that. The treatment that she is getting was founded because of a Rally Foundation research project. And she was there at the event. And that's like your full circle moment of, okay, what we're doing matters and makes a difference, right? That money that we raise for, multiple events throughout the year, but that's the big fundraising night. And that money, I just saw it.
Yeah.
I just saw the actual tangible product of the money that started the research project to help find a better treatment for a child with cancer. And that is so powerful, and that's that's why we rally,
That's why you do it.
Yeah. And we call it the rally bug. Big Jeff has it too, obviously.
Yes, he does.
But we call it the rally bug because once you go to the event, you've been there numerous times covering it, which we always appreciate. You always do such a good job. But, you see these kids and you talk to them and you talk to their families and their parents and you hear their stories and you got the rally bug.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do anything you can to help this foundation and to help these sweet kids,
Mm-hmm.
So it's my favorite charity. It is such an amazing organization. And the fact that it ties with the Titans and the Titans players give of their time freely to come and walk the runway with kids who are going through treatment right now. Yeah. Some of them are missing hair. Every year, unfortunately, there's always one or two that can't make it because they're sick because of treatment or what's going on, or there are too many germs at that point and their body can't handle it. And I appreciate the Titans and what they do for showing up, just because.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you got to love that. So it's a great charity event. So next year, I'm gonna, I will have a fundraising team next year. So don't you worry. I'm gonna call you, Jill.
I will be ready.
Yes.
That's Rally on Runway, easily one of my favorite events charity events in Nashville. You also are helping host another event at the Ryman. Tell us more about that.
Yes. So Second Harvest Food Bank, I've done a bunch with them over the years. Actually, when the NFL draft was here, hosted their check presentation with Roger Goodell and all of that. So one of my other favorite organizations, and they do an amazing job. And you don't realize, I think, especially in the summer, how needed they are. When school lunches are not available and kids are out of school and so they do a lot of work and a lot of work that's behind the scenes that you don't get or see and hear about often. But we have Stars for Second Harvest, and that is June 3rd. It's at the Ryman. Ernest will be there. And so this event has been going on forever. Craig Wiseman, one of the great songwriters in Nashville, started it, 20 years ago. Like from the minute I got to Nashville, I think I'm coming up on 19 years.
Oh my goodness.
I've always gone to the event just for fun because it's great. So you hear songwriters, they tell you, what went into writing their song, and then they play it, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's the biggest song. That's a Blake Shelton song.
You're
that's
wait a minute, this is the song that he wrote? He wrote this?
Yeah. And then you have the people like Party and Old Dominion who used to be songwriter Cole Swindell, and now they're artists as well. I mean, they were always artists, but you know what I mean?
Right.
And so this event is so fun. There's a lot of people from out of town that always come in for it as well because it's just an amazing event. So June 3rd, get your tickets to the Ryman. It's fun. And this year I get to host it, which is awesome.
So exciting. You'll be up there on the stage, right
the
there
Ryman,
by the circle. Cool.
Just iconic Ryman,
That's a pretty good event to host.
Yeah.
You picked a good one. No kidding.
It's a good one for a great cause.
Yes. June 3rd.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, we have to ask you one of my favorite segments, in my opinion, but really in your opinion, Dawn. What has been on your mind lately? What in the sports world, college, pro, whatever, something that you love, something that you hate, whatever, the floor is yours. What is your opinion?
How much time do you have, Jill? I mean,
you have a show to do after.
Radio
yes,
show
you
too.
do. We gotta get you over there.
Get to give an opinion there,
yes,
so that's nice. But yes, okay. This is probably I would imagine it would be a popular one. And that's NIL and what's going on. And it's a love-hate. I have a love-hate relationship with this.
Because you were Auburn volleyball star.
Right.
You were right there, but that was also a different time.
Yes, it was a completely different time. I mean, there were months where, my scholarship check would not go far enough to where end of the month it was like, okay, guess we're eating ramen this month. You know, I mean, that was the time then, and so I love NIL. I just don't love it in its current form.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel like that, but I can imagine right now with NIL, with the transfer portal, there has to be parameters somehow, some way. We have to do something, right? Mm-hmm. We've got to. Everybody wants to say guardrails. There have to be guardrails. I worry that we're going to start losing these quality, amazing coaches in college who are there to help develop young men and women,
and not manage their financial situation.
Right, because
that's a great point.
So much that goes with it. And it's not just NIL, it's also the transfer portal.
Yes.
And the different, times that the portal's open. I don't know how you manage a roster let's talk specifically about football. As a college football coach, you have no idea in the spring who you're going to have back, what you're going to have, where you're going to have depth. Are you even going to have depth? Because it's so hard to keep depth nowadays, because if you're not there, fighting to kind of get into your spot, eventually you're going somewhere else because you can go ahead and play immediately there. And I get it. And I'm okay with it to an extent, but not to the extent that we are right now. And then for NIL, these athletes, especially in college football, I mean, we're talking $1 billion business. They deserve a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
But the way that it's turned into a pay for play from a standpoint of, okay, you're just graduating college. You're a 5-star. You know what? Here's your $4 million. Well, guess what? You've done nothing in college yet. You don't even know if you're going to be a great college player.
Right.
And I hate that. I just wish it was more of a,
you've earned this.
You've earned this.
You've
shown.
And I think there's something to be said about that loyalty factor, right? That is a huge reason why we love college sports, because of that loyalty, because they are different from NFL in that regard. And
I mean, I look at the basketball, players that are transferring from Auburn to Alabama or Alabama to Auburn. I'm like,
whoa,
what?
how could you even think of
doing
such a thing?
I can't believe that you would ever even think about that. You are not an Auburn Tiger. But it's just a different mentality too. Yeah. And so I just wish that there were some more guardrails. I wish there were more parameters. I wish that somehow we would find a way to make it easier on these coaches, honestly, across all sports, because they're so important for these athletes, not just to develop them for, NFL or NBA or next level, but to develop them in life too, and to create those relationships where players can count on them and learn from them and learn life lessons. And I hate that, we're making it harder for that to happen because of the transfer portal and the, hey, go whenever you want. Go wherever you want. And I'm not against the portal at all. Look at Cam Ward. He probably would not be a Tennessee Titan right now if the transfer portal did not exist.
Cam Ward's great example of someone who benefited from getting those extra looks, going to another school, then going to an even bigger school.
Learning.
Yeah. And he
developing.
Had zero-star recruit. Zero-star. I mean, we could talk about his story all day. I'm so excited to see him play the season. But there are those examples of players and kids, both males and females, that have benefited from that. So I agree with you. I hate that we have had to go through the last several years in terms of this like testing, right? Because really it's kind of like, okay, here we go. Like here's NIL, here's a transfer portal. What kind of worms did we just open? So
it's all over. It's there. Open. Yeah, we're and you're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube. You know that. Yes. So, but I do wish, I think it will happen.
Yes.
But I just hope that we don't lose those bright coaching minds that really can help develop. Before it happens.
Nick Saban clearly saw this coming from a mile away. He said, "Hey, this has been fun. Peace out, y'all. I'm gonna go kill
it on the broadcast desk." Yeah,
spend some more time with Terry, but also be on College Game Day every Saturday.
And he does a great job. And I'll say this: working a couple of Alabama games with him. Turns out I ended up working his very last home game.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That kind of been pretty cool.
Well, but we didn't know it at that point.
That's right.
Yes. But it's cool to say that at least, right?
Yeah.
But he is phenomenal in a coach's meeting. So personal and help you learn about his team and all the things that you would never think that watching him on the sideline, Nick Saban would be. He was all of those things, So that was fun. He's great.
Real quick, one maybe Nick Saban story or moment that you remember from cover a game of his you covered.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna go. So this is funny. I'm gonna go to the very last home game because we know Nick Saban, right? Schedule.
Yep.
Everything is perfect.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so we always do a pre-game interview with him, but it has to be they get there, gets off the bus. He does his walk around the field. He comes straight to you in a very specific spot in the end zone. You better be ready, camera ready, mic's working, everything's good. You do your interview and he's gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all a part of his, I mean, he
routine.
He's a routine guy.
Yeah.
And he admits that, and a lot of us are, right? But I remember that game, even though we didn't know it was his last game, watching him on his walk around, because I always have, eyes on him. So I'm ready when he comes over. But I remember watching him look around a little bit more than I was used to. Do you know what I mean? I remember him like looking in the stands a little bit. I remember him, looking. And now he said it was, a decision that happened, right? Like 20 minutes the night before he told the team he decided that was when. But I felt like he stayed in the moment a little bit more than maybe he usually did on those pregame walks. Isn't that funny?
And you saw it.
And I thought that watching him. So I was like, I wonder if he's going to be done soon because, he's taking a little extra time. He's walking a little slower. He's looking around a little bit. It's just a little different.
Right there. Like, I feel like you can get away with saying you were there with Nick Saban's final walk around the home
there
gate.
You go.
Around Bryant Denny Stadium. You were right there. Dawn Davenport.
And we had a really good conversation once about oatmeal cream pies too. So they're the best. Yeah.
Saban is for oatmeal cream pies.
Yep. Okay. Miss Terry would always get there's a big, massive thing in their pantry. Every morning he has his oatmeal cream pies, and those are my favorite. You remember Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and the big oatmeal cream pie in the yard.
Yes.
All you young people out there who are like, what is she talking about? Watch that movie. It's great.
Yes.
So Saban's great, and I'm glad that we still get his knowledge every week for college football.
Well, you are great. I'm so glad we got your knowledge and your wisdom.
Thanks for having me.
Your story. Thanks so much for joining us. Obviously, The event on June 3rd.
Yes.
That's coming up. So be sure to check that out. And then just one more time, thank you for all that you do here in Nashville in the community, for women in sports on your Saturdays, and also doing it while being a full-time mom.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
pretty awesome, Dawn.
Aw,
So
I love you, Jill. And
yeah.
don't sell yourself short. You guys, this girl works harder than anyone I know. So
Thank you for
thank
coming
you,
on.
Jill. Yeah.
Appreciate it.